I'm here to film and talk about my 2006 Carrera S Cabriolet down here in Mr Macquarie's Chair in Sydney, just opposite the Opera House, which is just over there in the distance. You can see just there. I'm here to talk about though this particular car, which I've owned for a year now, and I just wanted to give my kind of owner's impressions of what it's like to own this car for a year. I think it's 13 months I've had it now. And yeah, just tell you a little about the car and as an owner, what it's like to own such a special car like this, and yeah, day to day, etc. My impressions. So to tell you a bit more about the car, it's a 2006 Porsche 911 Carrera S Cabriolet. Cabriolet meaning convertible. Beautiful silver colour. This particular one's quite optioned up. There's been quite a few options put on it. I do like my options on my cars, which is one of the reasons I chose this one. And just a little bit about the backstory of how I ended up owning this car. So for a long time, I've been craving after owning a 997 GT3 for a long time, as many people that know me know that fact. And I just couldn't find one. Well, I did find one a couple of times, and unfortunately the purchase fell through right at the last minute, not because of any fault of my own, but the owners just decided to keep hold of them just before I was about to exchange money and get a lovely GT3. Anyway, so after the second or third time that happened, I was really kind of down about it, and my wife said, well, why don't you just get another, like a cheaper 911 to tide us by and until the right GT3 comes up. So that's what we did. Found this one on car sales here in Australia. It was around a third of the price. It was actually, I bought it for 88,000 Australian dollars. Basically did my pre-purchase inspection on it by Porsche themselves, Porsche Willoughby. Sorry, not Porsche Willoughby, Porsche Sydney Self. Thanks to David Jackson for sorting that out. And then I pretty much yeah, bought it without actually looking to test drive it. I wish the dealer thought was funny, but I thought if it passes a PPI, a pre-purchase inspection from Porsche, then there's nothing wrong with it, and that proved to be true. It's an excellent example Carrera S, drives so well, and it's been an excellent car. So I'll take you a little bit around the car now, show you some of the details up close, and have a proper look at it. So as we start to look at some of the details on this car, well, what can we say? It's a beautiful colour. Really suits the Carrera and Carrera S models, the silvers, I think. Although the GT models are really good with the bright colours, I think the normal range of the Carrera and the Carrera S is so good in the silver. 18-inch sport design wheels. See front and rear. A little bit of gap, shall we say, for the standard suspension. The GTS model and the turbo and the GT models do have less of a gap on the rear suspension there, which I prefer to be honest. The car has PASM, which means you can stiffen up the suspension, but it doesn't actually lower the suspension or anything like that at all. Around the rear you can tell the Carrera S from the Carrera S written on the back there, but also with the twin exhaust tips there, whereas the standard Carrera, which is a 3.6 litre, has a single oval tail light there. The Carrera S has the 3.8 litre engine. Have a look inside. It's a really smart roof assembly, this. The way it folds up nicely into this area here is really good. This car has the extra leather pack, so you can see all of the stitching along here, which is a really nice feature. If you're ever going to buy one of these cars, look for the extended leather pack, where you have the leather up here and the leather that comes down here as well, and into the back area. You've got leather here with the white stitching. It really does make the whole interior of the car feel more premium compared to otherwise this is just all covered in plastic. Yeah, excuse the birds screeching in the background. There's someone happy getting on over there in the tree there. So this car, obviously 911s compared to a Boxster or Cayman, has the rear seats. You can see them here. They're pretty good. You can have children and young adults up to the age of 12 to 13 in the back. These just pop out, and you can just see, so if you want to put something you don't want to damage the leather, you can just pull that bit out. And these fold down here. And you can store stuff here as well, which is known as the parcel shelf. This is like, you pull this out here and you can put child seats in the back and clip them in there, so you can fit child seats safely into the back of the car. The same as on the non-convertible as well. If we open the door here, one of the great things, good use of design here is the interior door bins. It's really useful actually. You can store a lot in there, and it looks pretty cool, like down there. You'll notice on some of the GT cars where they have the bucket seats, they don't actually have this here. So if you're going to get the GT car with the bucket seats, just remember you're going to lose this bit here. It's actually, they put some side impact protection there instead. One thing to look out for with these cars is the upgraded sound system. So you can, in some models they fit the subwoofer down here. It's a Bose sound system. Whereas in the non-Cabriolet versions, they have the subwoofer sits behind the rear seats there. But the sound system is really good in these cars. You might think, well, why'd you buy a sports car for a good sound system? Well, there are times you're not driving it hard and you do want to listen to some music, and having a good clear sound system is really beneficial. The sat-nav system in these cars now is showing its age a bit. So this is 2006 technology. It's not too bad. It does the job navigation-wise. As I say, the sound quality is really good, but the technology behind it isn't the best. Sports chrono. Now this is an interesting one. Some people love this. It's basically a stopwatch, and it's it looks cool. I think I like it, and it's a stopwatch for use on the track. You'll notice that this is a bit geeky, but mine is actually set to 9 seconds, 0.11. That's the guy that services my car. He's a Porsche nut, and he always sets the chronograph to that time when he serviced the car. But yeah, you can get an analog readout here, and then there's also a digital readout here in the PCM for track days. But generally, good quality finish on all the leather. It's a little bit high quality leather, I would say, in finish compared to your typical BMW, Audi, Mercedes. Just everything's a little bit, I'd say a little bit high quality overall. Not massively, like jumping up to like a Bentley level or something very extreme, but it's just that little bit higher quality. If I jump in here, one of the classic things obviously is the dials of the 911. You've got those classic 5 dials all the way from the 1960s original. Really nice and clear. Tachometer in the middle there. Digital speedo here, and your speed that you're actually doing analog is relegated to the left there, because it's obviously, you just want to see the revs. That's what the key thing is, you want to see when you're driving hard. So and this one in particular is a manual, because as they say, true drivers only drive manuals, but I'll let you debate that in the comments. So practicality wise, I'll show you the front. To open the front and the back, you just basically go down here. That's to open the front, and that's to open the back, which is where the engine is in this car, isn't it? So I'll show you the engine first. Click that. As with all 911s, there's not a lot to see in the back of a 911. It's kind of all snugged up under the back there. The Carrera S is a 3.8 litre engine, whereas the Carrera is a 3.6. I think it's around, the Carrera is around, you'd have to quote me on this, but the Carrera is kind of low 300s, and the Carrera S is the mid 300s in a horsepower perspective. But the engine is goes right up underneath here, and you can see the intake manifolds here. The airflow comes in through here and down into here. Here's your air box down here. It's nice and snug. Interesting thing about the 911s is the engine doesn't sit on the engine mounts, it hangs from the engine mounts. So here's the engine mount here, and the engine kind of sits under the car. There's one thing I'll go into a bit later, but yeah, exhaust. These things don't sound amazing standard, so there is a really good hack you can do down here to make the exhaust sound better, and I'll go into that later in the video. Popping around the front, again, press this button here, and the front opens. So in the front, doesn't look big, but it's actually pretty deep. So it goes all the way down to here. It's pretty deep. At the moment there I've got the wind deflector, some of the paperwork, because this car is going to be sold literally in 2 days time, so all the paperwork and the spare key sitting there. This is just a jack that came with the car. In here you've got the satellite navigation DVD. Again, this is 2006 technology, and this is the disc changer for the CDs. You might be thinking, well, I don't want to buy a car that's got such old technology in it, like DVDs and CDs and things. However, what I do and most owners do is you just simply fit a Bluetooth unit to the stereo, which is super simple to do, and then you have Bluetooth hands-free calling, Bluetooth audio streaming, all those things. So you don't actually need to use the sat-nav system built into the car. You don't need to use a CD changer, you don't need to use a radio. Everything is audio streaming from your Spotify or whatever music streaming service you use. So there you go. Overall, it is a really nice, as you can tell, it's like a luxury sports car. So now I've shown you a bit around the car, some of the details. I guess I could tell you a bit more about kind of what I like and dislike about owning this car. I won't go into like showing you what it's like to drive or anything like that, because there's plenty of videos on the YouTube and on the internet about that. But I really want to give you kind of, I've owned quite a few cars over the years, so I just want to give you a kind of my honest view of what this car's like to own. So I'll start with the likes. So overall, the quality feel of the car is really high. As I say, it's a little bit higher than what you'd find from the likes of those premium German brands like Audi, Mercedes, BMWs, etc. Just a little bit, the quality of leather, the switch gear and everything is just that little bit higher end, a little bit more plusher and nice feeling. So that, you know, that's always nice day to day, of course. It's a great engine in the car, the flat six engine, 3.8. It's torquey enough around town. When you're driving around at slow speeds, it's got enough torque. Even with 4 people in the car, it's just got a good amount of torque. It feels good. And yet when you rev it into the high rev range, when you get above, I think it's around 4,500 RPM and upwards, the exhaust note changes and it turns into a real nice howl. And it's got a real good set of power and pushing feeling at a higher rev range. I think that's down to the way the induction system works and some flaps open in the induction system at those higher RPMs, but it sounds better and it just really starts to surge towards the red line. I have tracked the car once, so I've driven it up near the red line quite a few times. A few times. It does feel really good. It did actually impress me on track. It really did. Considering I would label this a bit more as a kind of a luxury sports car, the way it performed on track was excellent. I mean, because there's a lot of leather and subwoofers and speakers and all kinds of things it's carrying around. So, yeah. I'll just say, yeah, for me to sum up what I like about the car is it does a really, really good job of being a sports car, a luxury sports car, kind of a tourer. It's not even as raw to drive or sports car feeling to drive personally as I would say my Audi RS4 is. This feels like Porsche has really done a great job at mixing quality, luxury, great looks, some good engine sounds up high with some sportiness as well. I mean, but it's not really for me a super exciting car to drive. It's a car that makes you feel good, makes you feel proud to own, because it's a 911 and it's one of the longest running sports cars in history, but it's not really a true sports kind of feeling car for me, and not as raw as I would like, and that's why I'm moving on to something more sporty, which is another 997, but a GT3. As I say, some of the dislikes, but there's more likes than dislikes for this car. So some of the dislikes is, I guess, as stock, the exhaust doesn't sound really very good, in my opinion. Down low, when you're pulling off, there's kind of a bit of a farty sound. It's like it's a bit weird. Very low in the RPM when you're pulling off, and that's just normal for these cars. It's just that's how the baffles work or something. And it doesn't really sound as good as I would expect a 911 3.8 litre flat six engine to sound. So one of the really popular hacks is this thing called the Gundo hack or the Fister mod. They're pretty much almost the same thing. Google it, look at a YouTube, you'll find it. But it's essentially installing a tiny little partial bypass pipe on the existing muffler So you're not changing the exhaust, you're just changing the muffler, and it just opens up the sound of the, and makes it sound like, I think, like it should. It's a little bit louder. It just sounds how it should. I'd recommend it. For me, it cost me $800 to do that. A bit expensive for a bit of pipe to be welded onto the exhaust, but well worth it. Best $800 I've ever spent on any car. Yeah, so I guess the only other downside is, I guess, the rear seats. I mean, but I think this is obvious. The rear seats are really only good for someone up to the age of 12 to 13, depending on how tall your kids are. But they are usable up to that age. They're comfortable. I actually have baby seats and child seats and booster seats in the back of this car. I've took them out because I'm just about to sell the car. But my two little children, and mine are 5 and 3, absolutely love this car. You like to go fast through the tunnel? Okay, ready?
Was that the fun, Zara?
And if you have young children, you want a sports car, a 911 is probably the ultimate cool sports car. Up until they get to about 12 or 13, then they won't fit in the back. So that's kind of, I guess, my likes and dislikes. Overall, I've really enjoyed owning my first ever 911. I would not recommend it to anyone. Great thing is they're slowly going up in value worldwide as well now, and just to own a bit of history, which is the 911, is just special, and I'm so lucky to have owned one 911 in my life, I think. If you have the means to do it one day, I really recommend doing it. If you can't quite stretch into the 997, the 996, the generation before, is equally a good car. The interior dash is starting to age a bit now, but it's still an absolutely excellent car. Anyway, thanks for listening. There's a police helicopter overhead at the moment, so I'm gonna head off, but thanks for watching. Bye.